Welcome to the Writer's Life, a place where you get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, and where you get the truth about the writer's life. I'm going to shift this a little bit more so that you get to see the goods behind there. There's the girl who wasn't there. Guess how much the publisher's pushing that book? 0. Just boggles the mind. You get your advance, and that's it. Boom. They forget about it. Anyway, welcome to the Writer's Life. Like I said, subscribe if you haven't already, and please like the video and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications, I should say. I already said subscribe. I'm still half asleep. So that you don't miss out on one exciting video. And how exciting these videos are. So this whole IP, intellectual property thing's been in my head today. And it all started with this guy, Mark Moss, who's he's like a historian, financial guru, Bitcoin advocate, writer, young, handsome man. I'm jealous. He just wrote a book called the UN Uncommunist Manifesto. And this guy, Mark Moss, he has something like every time he puts out a YouTube video, which I think he does either one a day or one every few days anyway, he gets around 2 million views, which really puts me to shame, right? But compare that to Joe Rogan, who gets 250 million views, right? Compare that to CNN, which gets 500,000 views, less 300,000 views per show or something like that. It's pathetic. But anyway, Mark Moss just published his book, but he didn't go to a mainstream publisher. Now, with his viewership and his popularity, he probably could have garnered, I bet you, at the very least, a high mid six figure advance. That would be my guess. But he didn't. He chose to publish it independently and start a Kickstarter campaign for it. And I think the Kickstarter campaign has it was actually very humble goals. It was $30,000 Kickstarter, which for him is very humble. But they nailed it right off the bat. That to me should just that fact alone, that writers can go to something like Kickstarter and use that as a springboard to publish their books. That to me alone should in my mind should make the traditional publishers tremble in their boots. Because again, I'm still a hybrid writer. I still work with certain publishers, the ones I can trust. But 90% of them, 95% of them don't give a shit. And they once your advance is up, they just toss your book aside. They could care less. And that's just the way it is. This isn't the days of Hemingway anymore, where a publishing company was owned by a family and they wanted to bring you along and they wanted to nurture you and they wanted to have a lifetime of your books. This isn't like that at all. You're just a number on a spreadsheet and that's it. And then that led to, I got an email from a colleague and good friend of mine, Ben Sobiek. You might recall that name because he's written in Chase Baker land. He's written 3 novels, 3 Chase Baker novels, which has been fun. And he's a great writer, and he's into all sorts of stuff. He's like me. He's a hybrid author, but he's also into various businesses. He started Writer's Black Coffee, which is just going crazy. He started the Writer's Glove, which I've lost mine. I need a new pair. Ben, if you see this, send me a pair of Writer's Gloves, and I'll promote them for you. Not that he needs it. So he's just a really entrepreneurial-minded person, just like this Mark Moss guy I was talking about. But anyway, he introduced me to someone who has a very popular thriller podcast. There's that word again, podcast, YouTube videos. We're not talking NBC News here. We're not talking MSNBC, any of that stuff. We're talking about the new Maverick platform, which is you can have your own TV show. Anyway, I mentioned I'm going to be talking to this Thriller podcast about my not only my recent trip to Turkey, but the Chase Baker books in general, and how I go about researching them by actually going to the places and adventuring in them, and then coming up with the storylines and whatever. Okay, but I also happen to mention that this is a series, the Chase Baker series, it is a series that I own all the intellectual property for, and it is not for sale, nor will it ever be. I mean, you'd have to offer me like $1 billion for it. And then even I'd still want to retain the rights to write more of them on my own. But anyway, and that led to me sending Ben a really great video of Paul McCartney and his feud with Michael Jackson. If you recall, I don't know how old you guys who are watching this right now, but if you recall back in the 80s, Michael Jackson beat out Paul McCartney for the rights to all the Beatles songs, because the Beatles were so naive back in the 60s. They didn't realize that you could actually own songs. They actually thought that the songs were just out there and, you know, they'd make money from records and whatever. But no, people actually own the intellectual property for those songs. So they get screwed for years. And anyway, Paul, when Michael Jackson was still young, Paul gave him some advice. He said, besides your music and entertaining, you should also get into the publishing business. You should own intellectual property, not only your own, but you should look into maybe buying other catalogs if they're available. Makes sense to me, right? And so I guess Michael Jackson kept saying like, "Oh, one day I'm gonna own your catalog." That's my Michael Jackson voice. It sucks, doesn't it? But anyway, and Paul was like, "Oh, you're just joking. You're just kidding around." And Michael kept saying, "No, one day I'm going to own yours." And sure enough, like, I guess Michael Jackson calls Paul like on Christmas Day in like 1981 or 2. And he's like, "I just bought all the Beatle records." Paul had a complete meltdown. Like, just like, you got to be effing kidding me. Right? Anyway. So that's a great story. I mean, I love that story. Just look it up on YouTube. I'll provide a link down below in the description, and you can look at it. Because ever since the Beatles, Paul McCartney has been a huge proponent for owning his own intellectual property, and he just uses, and he does it through what's called MPL Communications. It's the same thing as my Bear Media, only his is like hugely successful. But time takes time. So, and he only uses publishers to distribute his music. And that's something we as writers, we don't even have to worry about that, because if we want to independently publish books, you just go to like Draft to Digital, or you can go exclusive with Amazon, and they distribute your books for you. And you can be in everything from in Walmart to wherever. Anyway, you know all this. But then I'll finish up with this. Yes, I had to take my mom out yesterday, and it was the first time I've seen her since I got back from Turkey. And I showed her one of my videos, one of my YouTube videos that I took at the old Basilica of St. John. It's in ruins because of an earthquake. St. John was entrusted by Jesus to take care of the Virgin Mary for the rest of her life, and he never left her side. And so they moved to they moved to Efes, Turkey, where I guess she lived out her days. Anyway, so I'm showing my mother's like a, like big time Catholic and all this sort of stuff, and she's really into it. She goes to church every day and all that stuff. So she's watching this video, and she's like, "This is incredible. This is incredible. I didn't know you could do this kind of thing. And I didn't know you were doing this kind of thing." And she's like, "You should show this to the local news people." I couldn't help but laugh, because I said, "Mom, this is like goes global. Like, I don't have to do that. This like goes global." And she's like, "What?" And she's like, "Well, people should see it on TV." And I was like, "Well, Mom, you she's got all the TV gadgets, right, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, "Mom, you can turn on your TV right now and just go to YouTube and get in bed and watch all my videos if you want, like any other show. And you can watch Joe Rogan, and you can watch whatever else you want, whatever else floats your boat, because the mainstream media has nothing to do with it anymore. And you'd be surprised at how much better many of these programs are and how much more honest. So I don't know if she's done it yet, but we'll have to see. She's almost 86 years old, and like I can just see her being addicted to YouTube. Like, you mean there's not just NBC, ABC, and CBS anymore? You know, but she watches like Netflix and stuff like that. But you know, this is just it blew her mind that this kind of thing can go on, and that, you know, you can own your own intellectual property, and you can start your own TV station, and you don't have to adhere with the news they want you to hear and the information they want you to absorb and the narrative they want you to absorb. You know, you can do your own thing, and I like that. Freedom is powerful. All right, so that's enough. I find, like, with this new thing I'm doing here, the videos are longer, and I want to keep them shorter, so I'll work on that. Anyway, it's Friday. Hope you have a good weekend planned. I just got a couple of assignments on top of my new book I started in the Chase Baker series based on my travels in Turkey. It's called Chase Baker and the Quest for the Holy Grail. Catchy, huh? And I already have, like, I don't know, almost 5,000 words. I just started yesterday. It's fun so far. Anyway, having a lot of fun writing it. All right, talk to you guys soon. Ciao, ciao. End the stream. See ya. Here we go. Now, see ya.